Good morning. I'd like to welcome everyone in attendance and the ones watching on live stream. If we would, stand and pledge allegiance to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Do I have any adjustments to the agenda? If not, I have a motion to approve. We good? I do need to make a motion to excuse Mark for today. His wife is having some issues, so can I have a motion to excuse Mark?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Gene, thank you. Approval of the minutes. Gene,
I don't have anything.
Barbara,
Good.
One question, I do have a couple of comments from, that's really loud, from Mark. One of them was on page 4, where it says in the middle of the page, the bolded section about the motion and seconded. It doesn't list a person who seconded that, and he thought that that should contain that note. And also on this first, on 11.4, he makes a comment that he was asked if, he asked Taylor if Bryce was okay with the changes and did not see anything noted in the minutes about Bryce's position on the changes that had been made. And that was 11.4 of that, of the 821 minutes. So that would be what, page 7. So. Also, I had a question for clarity on the second book, page 4 of the minutes. So this would be page 4 of the packet, first page of the minutes. The second bullet point right there in the center of the page. You following me? It says, Mr. Kirkland added, they cannot remove signs on private property on the town's right-of-way. First of all, it should say right-of-way. But anyway, private property and right-of-way are two different things. And this is using the conjunctive and. Private property on town's right-of-way. So it's either on the town on private property or the right-of-way. You follow what I'm saying? I think it should just say cannot remove signs on the town's right-of-way, because I don't think it's, they can't remove private signs from private property in any regard. Okay. That was it.
Reese,
Fine.
David.
No, sir.
Oh, one last comment from Mark, I'm so sorry. On page 6 of the packet, you see at the very bottom of page 6 of the packet, 11.3, the line right above that, it says, after discussion, the board agreed to submit their questions and concerns to staff via email. He felt that he did send in comments, and he believed that those comments should be incorporated in the minutes. How do we handle that when we send in comments after a board meeting?
It should reflect on the next meeting, minutes on the next meeting, correct?
If they're discussed, yes.
If they're discussed. So if we send in comments and they're not discussed, they don't get reflected in any of the minutes. Okay, all right, thank you. That's all I have from him.
Can I have a motion to approve with the changes noted?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Yeah.
And I'm assuming we're gonna have some public comment today. We do not have a sign-up list. If you would like to come up and make a public comment, state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes, and it'll start when you start speaking.
Morning, Planning Board. I'm Phil Dudley, 218 Suller Street. I salute you for your public service. Yours is unpaid positions, and I'd rather be somewhere else this morning, too. Most of you will remember that the current Chapter 32 was a full year in the making with input. It was a focus group with input from the building construction industry, average citizens, town staff, Planning Board, Town Council. Extensive, went on for a year. Changes should respect that and be carefully considered. I would submit that maybe a special session of the Planning Board is required if we're going to undertake major changes to this Chapter 32, which took a year and a focus group. As I said, at risk of repeating myself, a lot of effort went into it. So a lot of consideration needs to be given here. I really just want to make 4 specific points to get into the meat of the thing here. The front setback and the right-of-way are what people see. This is the impression you get from the town. The front setback, I would leave it just the way it is. Requirements on the front setback and saving the trees there. Number 2, multi-stem trees. There are over 100 varieties of crepe myrtle, some of them no more than 4 foot tall. So we should define that greater. I mean, you're really talking about replacing a tree with a shrub. Again, I would submit not in the front setback, please. The buy down. I actually have high respect for private property right. If you live on 100 acres, man, you should be able to do whatever you want. But on a quarter-acre lot, what you do directly impacts your neighbor. Trees improve property values for everybody. The buy downs needs to be priced correctly. If somebody wants to buy it down, you know what, they're going to do crazy things. We've heard stories, about people that are going to pull the tree up and give it to the next builder, stupid stuff. But I know we're supposed to go back and check after a year, but we know that it takes $1,000 to plant a 2-inch tree. So the buy down ought to be priced at $500 per 1 DBH. And then the last thing I want to say is that the focus group wisely set different regulations on the front row, and we focus really on the rest of the island. More analysis could be done off the island. That could be a whole separate regulation. And in closing, trees do increase property values. Nobody disagrees with that. Maybe 1% does. They protect our roofs, wick away stormwater, shade our streets, promote habitat for birds that feed on flies and mosquitoes. And they do not get into our sewer pipes unless the sewer pipe's leaking. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask Mr. Dudley or anyone else that has feedback, comments on this section, if they could provide those to us in writing so that we can go back and really make sure we're getting the substance of your points down? Would you mind?
I'll do it anyway.
Thank you very much. And I would encourage anyone else who has feedback on it as well, so that we can actually take those and not let them get lost. Thank you.
Anyone else? Do I have a motion to close public comment?
So moved.
Second? All in favor? Public comment is closed. Old business.
The first text amendment that we're going to hear today, we have a pretty full agenda, is going to be the same one that y'all heard last month. We've taken some things out based on the feedback that we've gotten, and we're just focusing solely on residential this time. Maybe the clicker works. Mike, can you go to the next slide? Okay. Robert and Tina Lawing, applicants, have submitted a proposal for a text amendment to Chapter 32 of the Town of Oak Island Code of Ordinances. Specifically, the request seeks to codify an alternative calculation for required DBH, which is the required trees, on properties with principal structures that pre-exist the adoption of the Chapter 32 ordinance, which was adopted on February 13th, 2024, to allow one-time, every 7 years exemptions for structural improvements and to expand the approved planting list. Next slide, please. Click. The proposed amendment is to add 3 new definitions. Click. It's not working. Multi-stem tree, click. Tree canopy, click. Tree crown, click. I'm sorry. The current ordinance only speaks to single trunk trees and DBH as a means of measurement. Properties with existing multi-stem trees are not receiving DBH credit because they cannot be measured by the diameter breast height method. The new definitions will support proposed amendment sections. Next slide. Click. The new section, which is for reduced DBH for pre-existing development. Click. Qualifications for reduced DBH. This is going to be a one-time structural improvement or additions of residential principal structures not exceeding 400 heated square feet or 400 square feet of non-enclosed area every 7 years. Impervious surface improvements constructed before February 13th, 2024 shall be considered pre-existing. The qualifying vegetation plan may comply with the following guidelines, and this is where we've made a slight adjustment from the last presentation. 1-inch DBH per 1,000 square feet of pre-existing impervious surface improvements and 1-inch DBH per 400 square feet of the remaining impervious area shall be preserved and or planted on the subject property.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
You're talking really fast. It's actually hard to hear you and to try and follow. So if
Yeah.
you just slow down just a little bit, just so we can, sorry.
Yeah.
So go over this last point one more time. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so the only thing we've changed since last month's presentation is the second part of it, which is the DBH per 400 square feet. Previously, it was still the 220 that's in the current ordinance. Okay. So this calculation is looking at what is already existing on the property as far as structures and then the remaining open area. So it'll be 2 different calculations that are then added together to get you your total DBH that you're required to plant. And this is where I did a little bit of the calculation for you. The current ordinance, if you had a 7,500 square foot lot, you'd have 34 DBH, which is about 17 large trees if they're planted at 2-inch caliper. The proposed amendment, if you had the same lot, you do a 3,000 square foot pre-existing impervious, which is that 1,000 square foot measurement that we were talking about, which is 3 DBH. And then if you did the remaining area, which is 4,500 square feet, divided that by 400, that gets you 11 DBH. If you add those together, you get 14, which is about 7 trees if all new plantings. Am I good to go on to the next slide? The next section is for the vegetation plans required. We've fixed the wording on this a little bit after talking with Bryce. So that now says issuance of a building permit, not including those associated with construction on parcels as part of a major minor site plan and or subdivision plat approved on or after June 12th, 2025. That's when Waterside was approved. And so that kind of starts when Bryce was doing his landscape approvals per this ordinance, Chapter 32. That satisfied the applicability and standards of Article 10, Part 1 landscape requirements, and 4 is the same thing, but speaking to development permits and including the driveways. So this removes the requirement for a vegetation plan for permits already having met the standards of the vegetation ordinance through the approval of a major minor site plan or subdivision plat. Section is looking at tree canopy.
Everything echoes.
So this is where we're looking at multi-stem trees and how they could be measured. We were trying to find a way where people who have these existing multi-stem trees like a crepe myrtle could receive some credit for them. So at point 3, we've said preserved trees shall be any tree species with a minimum 5-inch DBH or at least 10 linear feet of canopy coverage at time of application to be allocated toward the total DBH to be retained. Trees qualifying by canopy coverage shall adhere to the DBH conversion chart below for DBH credit. Number 4 says planted trees shall be a large tree species, a minimum of 2 DBH, up to 50% of the required plantings on residentially zoned and used property, not to include those within buffers as required with major or minor site or subdivision approval, may consist of a small tree planting, which I think we're now calling understory trees with Bryce's changes, with a minimum DBH of 2 inches or tree canopy width of 3 feet at the time of planting.
Again, not to interrupt, in the future, if your style, and everyone has their own style, if your style on your slides is just to have them and you read them, can we get these sent out to us in our packet? That way we can actually read the slides and make sure we understand them, and then you won't have to feel like and then you can sort of go quickly because you know we've read it.
You should have the redlined version.
I do have the
of
red
this.
line. It's just, I'm trying to reconcile because the red line's laid out entirely differently. So but I am trying to follow, and I have my comments. But I would just say, if it is going to just be read, send this out to us with the packet, and that way we can listen to you and not have to read and listen at the
Okay.
same time. Thank you so much.
And here we do the math equation again, so it's the same lot, except this time this person has 2 mature multi-stem trees spanning 10 feet each. So again, the current ordinance would say that they need to plant 17 large trees because they're required to have 34 DBH. Under the proposed amendment, the calculation is the same for the most part. It's the 3,000 square feet for 3 DBH, 4,500 of the remaining unimproved area for 11 DBH, except for 14 total that they're required, except this time they have that multi-stem tree credit, so they're being credited for 10 DBH, so the remaining DBH they need to plant is 4, which would be about 2 trees. And then lastly, the applicant is proposing the addition of 1 non-native tree species, which is a crepe myrtle. The proposed amendments are consistent with Section 5, goals and implementing actions of the 2017 Comprehensive Land Use Plan by prioritizing the preservation of existing mature trees. And the amendments likewise further the purpose of Chapter 32 of the Unified Development Ordinance by aiming to strengthen property values, preserve and enhance the visual appearance of the town, and reducing the impacts of development on the town's stormwater system. The proposed text amendment would provide the requested relief to property owners while also maintaining the intent of Chapter 32. The amendment may further the intent of the ordinance to strengthen property values with larger trees on smaller parcels, do not increase the risk of property damage by overhanging branches. And then this is just the suggested language, motion to recommend approval or denial of the proposed text amendment to Chapter 32. And the applicant is here. Did you want to speak, Robert? No? Okay.
Yes.
In the current list of required trees that you want homeowners to plant, is there any way we can add the second category of lesser size trees, the ones that don't have the huge canopies? Can those somehow be included in being able to use?
You're talking about understory? What do they call them? The
Medium and small
medium and
trees,
small?
yes.
They're not called understory anymore? Not yet. Okay.
I'm just asking questions. It's on your list here. I don't understand why that can't be qualified if you use the right DBA size tree when you plant it. Some of those trees make an excellent property border. For instance, in our case, there's a village of homes next to our property, and they've taken a couple of trees down recently, and we'd like to plant some of those, which is what we were going to do to start with, to create a natural border over a period of time. It would take 3 or 4 of those trees to make that border, so I'm just asking the question why they can't be added to the availability to use in the requirements to plant trees.
So right now, they're not, I know in the new development, you can use what, up to 30% of the small, medium in your planting?
A third, I believe.
That's
third.
That's a second. That will be
I,
coming.
I think that,
That will come what?
That's the second proposal coming to us.
Oh, okay.
That's totally different.
yeah, I think,
Totally different, okay, sorry.
I think currently the small trees don't create the canopy that the large trees create, and that's why they're not in that part.
Yeah, let me enlighten you guys a little bit. The revised revisions that we have done to chapter 32, you'll hear later on today, will encapsulate a lot of these trees. We utilized the chapter 32 basics. We didn't go broad spectrum. Everybody worked on it for so long. If you listen to my presentation, it's gonna make sense. So these trees are all included and more added, to the list, so.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Are the trees you're thinking of planting, sir, are they crepe myrtles? Is that what you're,
No, I'm not wanting to plant crepe myrtles.
Okay.
They're little gems, they're little gem magnolias. They grow about 30 feet tall, about 20 feet wide, so that's not a small tree once they're mature. Now, they don't grow 80 feet tall like the ones across the street over here.
These are on the list. The new
Those
list.
are on the
Yes.
list. Okay,
Thank you.
thanks for the clarification. Okay.
Can I ask a
Question.
question?
Go
Yeah.
ahead.
I have a question about the canopy. How exactly is that measured? I mean, how is that done?
The definition that we put in would have it measured at the crown, so at its widest point.
And how do you do that?
It would have to be taken in linear feet. So measuring tape.
so like from the trunk out to a visual line, and then?
From the
put it on
widest
other side?
point of the canopy of the tree, from the crown, so branches.
And it would be the widest point, I mean, not all trees grow in circles, so it
Right.
would be the widest point would count. How do you take into consideration, if we're adding crepe myrtles, how do you take into consideration those people who sort of, what are they lop off everything sort of at 5 feet? Okay, which I hate, but how do you take that into
So
consideration?
that's why we included the language at application, so that measurement would be taken at the time they're applying. So if they're wanting to include those trees, then they need to keep them such that they have a crown and they're
So,
not
so
lopped.
we would then have to police those who cut them like that, or where they would be allowed to cut them?
Well, we allow trimming of branches right now.
You know what I'm
with
talking about?
Chapter
What is it called
32.
when you literally lop off the, what is it? Yeah, you know, crepe myrtle is the tree, exactly, but what?
They said crepe murder.
Crepe myrtle, oh, sorry, thank you. But do you know what I'm asking though?
Essentially, if they do that and they're applying to receive credit at that time, they would not get credit for it. If they do that after the fact, we may need to, with that, kind of write that in there. But with the current ordinance as it is now, when trees are planted, we go and do a 1-year inspection. After that 1 year, the tree is left up to the homeowner to
Yeah,
maintain.
I'm just not aware of another tree that could survive sort of being lopped off and sheared like that. You know what I mean? I mean, most other, you know, trees aren't pruned in that way. You might limit up a little bit, but you wouldn't necessarily. Okay, all right, thank you.
Gene, do you have anything?
No, I don't have anything.
Can I have motion?
Bryce
Yes.
wanted-
Yes.
Thank you. I just want to let you know, I wouldn't vote on this yet because my new presentation will be later on this evening, today. And I think it's going to make a lot of clarity in all of this. So before you vote, I just hold that vote. Thank you.
Can I have a motion to discuss the text amendment?
Motion to discuss.
Have a second?
So,
All in favor? Okay. Gene, comments?
I'd like to hear what Bryce is gonna say before we actually put this to a vote.
Yeah.
Barbara?
I'm interested in, Phil, when you were talking about maybe even creating another group to special, a special session to talk about this even in more depth and with people that know more than we might.
Okay.
I think I would echo Barbara's comment as well.
Reese?
I'm fine. I had one question, should have brought up earlier. Does the type of foliage have any impact on the canopy itself, depending on what type of tree it is? Would the foliage make any difference?
Like whether whether it drops its leaves in the winter?
No, the,
I think it would just have an effect on how much shade
yeah,
it
the
provides.
shade it would produce, depending on the type of foliage or the type of tree it was. Is that addressed anyway?
No. It's just the rot of the tree. David?
Well, I respect everything town staff has done. I think it looks great and all, but I think we are going around the original purpose of the vegetation plan. When you follow the current plan, it helps to repair all the previously built homes where lots were supposedly clear cut. I think this is a heck of a text amendment for an individual to come up with. I mean, it's a lot of work in there that an individual put forth to it, but it goes around the original purpose of the vegetation plan, which is to save tree canopy and to replace tree canopy. So, if you're trying to fix an island that supposedly has less than normal tree canopy, then if you reduce this for all the existing homes, you're never going to get to where you want it to be. So I would not recommend approving this or creating a special session to do so. I think it's pretty obvious that this is a manner that's not going to help the island in tree canopy means.
Do you take any consideration to the size of the property that you're asking these trees to be put on? I have a lot that's 55 feet wide by 121 feet. You put 17 of these trees like you're talking about on there, in the future, there's not gonna be any land left. It's gonna be all tree roots.
The issue there may be the size of the home on the lot.
Yeah, the size of the lot.
No, the
That's why
size of
we're
the.
asking you to allow us to plant less trees and different kinds of trees. You're still gonna get the canopies, maybe not like that big oak across the street, but you're gonna be able to sit under the shade tree if you want to. And it's gonna hold the soil together like you're asking it to be.
I understand completely, but
Okay.
if you take a 6,600 square foot lot and put a max size floor plan on it, then that greatly reduces how much tree you can plant there also. And then secondary, it's not one citizen, it's a town of citizens, and they worked endlessly for a very long time on this vegetation plan. And council approved it, they made modifications to it that were past what the planning board recommended. I don't believe that we should change what they decided on.
It's my understanding that when they voted on the original, and I want to be corrected if anybody has knowledge of this, but it was my understanding that it contemplated the new construction, that what happens when you do an addition to a property that's still within the BUA of that property, that the current ordinance may not have addressed that nuance. And so this is coming to us to help now sharpen what they had voted on originally. That was my understanding. Does anyone else have a different understanding?
Well, I can understand that, but
Okay.
allowing X amount of square foot every 7 years, well, you count that out and just go ahead and take it to the maximum BUA of that lot, because that's what you're given the eligibility of being capable of being done. So you might as well go ahead and get through the 7 years and get there.
Point of clarification, can we make a motion to table this until after Bryce's presentation? All right, can I have a motion to table this until after Bryce's
moved.
presentation? And then we'll bring it back for reconsideration and vote. Can I have a motion?
I've so moved.
Second? All in favor? Thank you. We're going to vote after Bryce.
So it's my understanding, he had his text amendment for his situation, but
Yes.
then staff has gone beyond that and sort of taken this component as a part of a bigger overhaul. So you're saying that your bigger overhaul actually takes into consideration the, Mr. Lawing's
Yeah, and
situation?
I read through Bryce's presentation. I don't understand how it changed so much from last meeting to this meeting when you were a part of everything from last meeting.
I was not a part of the agenda from last meeting, but
Well, he wasn't here for the meeting, but his input had been put in according to Taylor.
We talked about that there was a text amendment, but I did not sit down with Bryce and write Mr. Lawing's application.
Okay.
It's two different,
It's two
Okay.
two
different things.
totally different.
yeah,
Oh, it is two
It
different?
is two totally
Oh,
different.
okay,
One is an applicant-driven application.
right.
They have to pay a fee, and it's just like any other kind of application. One is staff presented, and Bryce will be doing that presentation.
yeah.
And
what
I
I'm
think a
presenting
lot
it-
of what Bryce is going to be
Right.
bringing to us entails a lot of his issues also, correct?
Correct. And what I'm doing is my one-year review. It states in there that I have to do an annual review. Work with Environmental Advisory Committee, citizens, arborists, tree peace, everybody to build this, what we have coming up. So it's a group effort to present it to y'all, and it's not a lot of changes, just a lot of clarification.
Okay.
Okay?
You keep talking about the island as your subject. We're not on the island. We're off the island.
It's still inside town property.
Yeah. Every resident of the town of Oak Island, whether on or off island.
But I'm not asking just, but it, you know, you gotta consider every property within the
Yes.
island.
On to UDO, the definitions of seafood processing. Really fast.
So a few meetings ago, when we were doing the supplemental regulations, some questions were raised about seafood processing and how we have it categorized in the ordinance right now. So the current ordinance identifies the use as seafood processing, purchasing, sales, and is permitted in the CLD and ID with supplemental regulations. That supplemental regulation is just that it needs to front a street classified as a collector or higher designation. The proposed ordinance is suggesting to remove purchasing and sales from the title of the definition, and then amend the definition to processing establishments producing or processing seafoods for human consumption and certain related products, including canning, curing, byproduct processing, including fat and oil products, and miscellaneous preparation from raw products, including services that are independent from food stores or restaurants. And in the agenda, we've made the note. So during this process, we tried to find some other towns or counties' ordinances as it relates to seafood processing, specifically people who have, or towns, I should say, that have strong seafood markets like the Gulf Coast or the state of Washington, Maryland, those kinds of places. Really, the only defining characteristic that we could find were a lot of them were just making the distinction about odor and how to mitigate odors. Which we already have an ordinance to that effect.
So that was my question. You keep going and I'll come back.
This is really all that we have. This was like a shorter one. Staff is recommending approval of the change.
So under section point 45.1, because this is falling under the supplemental regulations, were there any supplemental regulations from that, like odor, like a particular type of dumpster that could safeguard against animals getting into it and things like that? So it's not like,
It's not under supplemental regulations, but under the, we have a trash section. I'm not 100%, I don't have the whole ordinance in front of me. I have the supplemental regulations, but we do have a disposal part of the ordinance that talks about collection of waste, which talks about using a certain kind of dumpster, mitigating odors if you are doing something that is malodorous, like seafood, or maybe like some sort of hazardous material, making sure that it's collected in a timely manner or regularly. It can't sit.
so then as an element of the supplemental regulations section, there actually are no specific items underneath seafood processing, purchasing, and sales. There were none.
Correct.
It's just covered. It's just covered.
We could add something if there was something specific.
The one you hit is one of the containment of odor. How do you do that? Again, I don't know where this would actually be able to go within the island, and I apologize, I didn't look that up on the map. But again, if you're close to other businesses or you're close to residences, the animals that can obviously, become a nuisance to the surrounding property owners, as well as the odor and the nuisance of the odor. If you feel like those are taken into consideration other places, okay. And if they're not, so when someone puts in a permit for this, they actually don't have to state how they're going to dispose of any of that type of thing. They would just say, I'm complying with other regulations.
If they were doing, let's say someone was building a new seafood processing plant, obviously we check to see their dumpster location and to make sure they have the proper screening, so that would be the extent of it. If it
Not
was,
odor.
we don't ask questions about odor so much, no, when we're doing site plan review. If for some reason it was in a location where maybe it was near residential and they were proposing to have their dumpster on that side of the property, we would maybe possibly make the suggestion that they move it elsewhere and find an alternative location.
I'm paying close attention to this one. We have a neighbor, wonderful neighbors, by the way, but they rent their property, and in the fall, they rent it to fishermen, okay? You can't walk out your front door for the debris that they have thrown in that garbage can, because they're right there beside ours. You cannot walk out our front door without it parting your hair the other way. I mean, it's horrendous. And so it is more of a nuisance than we probably want to think about when it's right there beside an adjacent property.
I don't know that there would be a way for us to add a line item in a site plan review for odor, but I think a way around that is, so for things like lighting, I should say, or if there's a potential for historical kind of significance on the property, I will typically have developers or the engineer put a statement on the site plan that says they will comply to section such and such, that all lighting will be, adhere to the ordinance, to their specifications, or a statement to the fact that they've conferred with the State Historic Preservation Office and no record of historical significance was found on the property. We could probably do something like that if it was something that could potentially have odor, have them put a statement on the site plan that says they'll comply to that section of the ordinance that talks about disposal of waste and odor.
So there is a section that deals with odor in our...
In the disposal of waste section talks about nuisances and odor, yes.
And then this should only be in the CLD or ID.
CLD or ID?
Yes, that's
Okay.
the only two places.
So then there's buffer requirements and so forth also put in
Okay.
place.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm still not sure that's enough, but if you feel like it's covered, I think at a minimum, having them state some type of how they're going to do odor containment or what have you. It might be the location of the dumpsters or something like that. If you feel like all that is covered already in the ordinances, okay.
I'm sorry, I don't have I had to make the slide this morning because Matt had to call out. I don't have the motion to approve slide for you, but staff is recommending approval of the change.
Can I have a motion to open discussion?
To move.
Second. All in favor? All right, Gene,
I don't have a problem with it.
I just, the difference between processing versus retail sales, they have different impacts, right? I mean, is that clearly defined in here?
So the idea here is that we're just defining seafood processing with the definition here. If it's a seafood retail or sales, like a market that we have here, they would just fall under the typical sales market supplemental regulations and definition.
Okay, okay.
Nothing further.
you got it? Reese?
Every time I see processing, it reminds me of the old pokey plants. It scares me.
David?
I guess it's about as good as we're going to get.
Fine.
Okay, someone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve it as written.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? New business,
Waiting for the slide to load up.
commercial code repair.
So now we're to commercial code repair. This is, we talked about this a little bit. Hallie came and did her presentation. What we've done is we've categorized these initiatives into groupings so that we've kind of created an adoption schedule because there's a very lengthy list. So this is the strategy that staff is going to take to get some of these things in front of you. So to overview, there were 6 regulatory categories that these topics fell into. They were procedures, parking, site development, urban form, use, and signs. And this is where I've kind of created this schedule that we're calling it the strategy. So, and we're going to talk about group 1 today. I'm not going to read all of these for you, but this will just give you kind of an idea of how we're going to bring these before the board in the coming months. This, assuming this will probably take about a year to get all the way through because there's quite a bit. Our first group, we're going to be looking at revamping the regulations for non-conforming commercial buildings and uses to promote improvement to existing structures. Nonconformities is talked about in Article 9 of the UDO. 2, we're going to talk about improving the our applications for functionality, consolidating application deadlines, and reviewing processes for efficiency. Revising the fee schedule to consolidate similar type permit fees, and adjusting the fee values for appropriateness and comparability to surrounding areas. And 4, allowing administrative staff approvals of by right development, which is talked about in section 5.4. The first group, which is non-conforming structures and uses, just some topics or ideas to get the discussion flowing, is thinking about regulation for discontinuance of non-conforming uses. Our ordinance has that at 365 days. Some of the other ordinances I looked at, theirs is actually half that. It is a discontinuance at 180 days. So depending on kind of what we're wanting to do, are we looking to make sure those non-conforming uses stop sooner? We could make that date time period shorter, or we could make it longer if it's something that we think the town could make work. 2, proposing to allow modification or expansion of non-conforming structures such that the degree of non-conformity is not increased. So for example, if a existing structure is encroaching the front setback, but they have plenty of area in the rear where they could expand, meaning they would be allowed to expand their nonconformity by making their building larger in the rear, but not touching the front, not making their nonconformity any worse. And 3, minimizing or eliminating the standards based on tax value and construction costs. Hallie talked a little bit about this, but some of these existing buildings are very old and they're very small, so their tax value is not very high. When these builders or developers are trying to improve these buildings, they kind of hit that threshold very quickly and are not able to make the improvements that they need to. applications, deadlines, and review. I think we need a published, easily accessible calendar. Right now, the town does not have a deadline calendar. Everything's in the UDO, and I've kind of put everything in an Outlook calendar. So when citizens are coming to us and asking when they need to have their application in, staff is having to go to their email and look at this calendar and say, well, you're doing this kind of application, so you need to have it to us on this date. It's not a super efficient process. To one application deadline a month and eliminate the moving target by application type. So again, a lot of our applications have different countdowns of when their deadline date is. Some of them are 30 days, some of them are 45 days, and they go back from the meeting that they're intending to go to. This creates a moving target of constant deadlines, and it's very difficult for a citizen, an applicant, anyone who's not familiar with it to know when they need to have an application in. It's also difficult on staff because we just have a running calendar of due dates when we're trying to make assignments to staff members about this will be your project for you to work on. I can't just at the beginning of the month say, here's your assignments for the month to start working on. It's constant assigning things. This would also allow more built-in time for staff review, which we've talked about a little bit. The turnaround for site plan review is very fast right now. When we're doing TRC, sometimes I might need 3 or 4 submittals before the plan is submitted to me in a UDO compliant manner. When we've only got 30 days to 45 days to do that, and you have to count in the time that the engineer is taking those plans back and making changes, that's not a lot of time. So something like this that puts everything in front of them, they can see their application deadline date and what meeting they're going to, would make it very easy. The fee schedule, I have.
Go back one more
Yeah.
slide, I'm sorry. So like, just trying to understand, in this case, the planning board dates are all following the town council dates.
So these are this is actually a reflection of what our calendar is now. So for example, the way this would work is if someone was wanting to do a general use rezoning, they would have to get their application in on 9/5 in order to see the planning board on 11/20. They would not go to town council until the December meeting for town council approval. So this builds in a good bit of time. The TRC date, the town of Oak Island does not have an in-person TRC meeting just because we don't get that many TRC cases in at a time. External agencies don't want to drive down to Oak Island to talk about one case, so we do it over email. This day I was thinking would just be a guarantee that you will have your TRC comments back to you for response by that date, which is about a month.
But you see what I'm talking about? This has town council on 11/12, then coming to us on 11/20.
It would not go to you on 11, that's not how that works. So
I'm sorry, I'm just trying to, do what?
It's what it shows.
it's just, that is just the first meeting date. So another example
The
would be.
first possible meeting date?
The
or
first possible meeting date. So this is not all the way across what they're following. It's just what first meeting they're going to. So on September 5th, if it was a rezoning or site plan approval, they are going to planning board on 11/20. Then they would go to the December town council meeting, 12/9.
This wasn't in our agenda
Yeah,
packet
no,
to
no,
review.
exactly. No, it wasn't.
This is just an example. This is
Right.
not what this is an example.
So pretty much at TRC, then planning board, and then council would have to get it in the December.
Yes.
And then would it go to the Board of Adjustments following a town council, or is Board of Adjustments
No,
before?
only
these are,
if needed.
yeah, these are all.
If needed, okay, got it.
I can show it to you differently where every meeting is a different square. This was just how I did it for the presentation to
No,
make
no,
it.
I was just trying to understand the process
Yeah.
of when they go to whom.
No, this is not a all the way across process. This is just application deadline and what meeting they're going to. So another example would be if it was a special use permit. Special use permits don't come before the planning board, so they would apply on 9/5. They're going to town council on 11/2.
Got it.
January, February, that's what the 26th is.
Example, yes,
Right.
sorry. The fee schedule. So this is just a few notes on the fee schedule, just again, to get ideas floating. consolidate similar fees. Right now, we have multiple fees for multiple types of business permits. They are all the same amount, so those could be consolidated to make the fee schedule smaller. Same for nuisances. We have all of the nuisances listed and the fee is the same. We could consider a lesser fee for small subdivision maps. Right now, the town only does a major subdivision and a minor subdivision, and the minor is 4 lots or less. So for example, if a home builder has a 3-acre lot and they're wanting to split it into 3 1-acre parcels, they're having to pay the $300 for a minor plus the $25 per lot. That's a lot for that kind of map. That's not an extensive map that doesn't need a lot of review by a planner. We can usually do that in a few minutes if the surveyor has everything on there that we need. That could probably be decreased.
Excuse me, just a minute.
Yeah.
I thought town council set fees.
I was just going to ask. That's not our purview, is it? Town councils.
As part of discussion, I'm not sure if we could make recommendations for changes to the fee schedule.
Okay, yeah, because I think the town council sets fees and.
Yeah, we can
You
definitely
know,
give some
to
feedback.
me, the fee schedule, that whole consolidation, to me, should go to town council because they're the ones that have set what fees are where and everything else. I don't know, are we playing in their area or not? I'm just asking, I just wondered because when I
Is
read
this
this, I
something
was
town
like,
council has asked us to do, is look at
It's-
consolidating?
It was part of the list of the code
Of
case
what they
repairs
asked
looking
us.
at the fee
Okay.
schedule, yes.
So
I'm
we're
good then, but I mean, you don't want to step on toes when we, if we say, hey, we don't want to pay $300, we think it should be $100. And they come back and say, well, we think it should be $1,000, and then you get into
Yeah.
whatever, because I don't do budgets and everything, that it might be budgeted that they need the $300. Or, so you get into some situations there.
Some other things are amending the fee for preliminary plats to include a base fee plus the fee per lot, and the same as for an SUP, a base fee or a fee per acre. Right now, we just have a flat fee for a preliminary plat. When you think about the Williams tract or some of these larger parcels where developers are proposing could be hundreds of lots, you want to take that time into account because that's a lot more staff time for review. Typically, when you look at surrounding areas, that's how they're charging, is there's a base fee and then a minimal fee like $5, $10, $20 per lot. So in this case, we're looking at increasing the fees. Establishing fees for needed applications, plan amendments, home occupation, administrative adjustments, and preliminary plat revisions are all things that are not currently included in the fee schedule, but are things that we deal with. Renaming or separating certain fees for clarity. So there's a fee in there called established residential lots. That's a little confusing. When you look at it, I wasn't sure what it was, but that is referring to just residential development. Our major site plan is categorized in the fee schedule as commercial under 1 acre. That's also a little confusing when people they're knowing I'm putting in a minor site or a major site and they're looking at the fee schedule. It's not called the same thing in the fee schedule, so it's a little confusing. And lastly, removing unused or non-relevant fees. Things like the vehicle repair fee is not something that we really utilize. Same for the construction plat under the zoning. Zoning is not looking at construction plats. We're looking at preliminary and final. Administrative approvals, so the current process requires board and council presentations, which may detract commercial developers because there is that risk of the unknown, like what's going to come up at the meeting. Does it extend, there's also the question for the developer, does this extend the review approval process, delaying a project start time, which may impact their financing from their banking institution. Lastly, taking a vote on a by right development also exposes the town to some legal risk when we're potentially telling a developer who has followed all the rules, submitted a UDO compliant plan, and they're proposing a by right use, denying that they could then, get an attorney and seek relief from that.
So can we please get a copy of this? This is not in our packet. If it is, I wasn't able to synthesize from what
These
we
are
read.
these were just topics for discussion. These are not
Okay.
specific
But can you
things.
go into, okay, then can you go into the detail on this last one, the by right developments exposes the town to legal risk? Just go into that to make sure we understand.
Yeah, so if there's a by right use that's in our table of ordinances,
Hey, define by rights development for people.
it's permitted under P on the table of uses. They don't need a special use permit. They don't need to do conditional zoning. It is allowed. The law
Okay.
says it's allowed in that zoning district. When we're bringing these before a board and taking a vote on it, and this developer, builder, applicant, it could be, someone who just owns a small lot, comes before the board and says, I've submitted my UDO compliance site plan, it's been checked by planning and zoning, I've gotten all my required permits, and this is a by right use, and then we deny it, that puts the town in a bad spot.
We get those?
Yeah,
That
we
would
just
be a
approved one
minor.
last month.
Huh?
That would be a minor.
That would be a minor, but that comes before the board for a by
Well, it would
right.
be a major too, so the Stark one that you heard recently, they had a special use permit, so the town has already given them the permission to do that use. We then had to take the site plan again in front of planning board. If we had denied that, that would have put the town in a weird spot. And that's all I have for that. Like I said, these were just topics for discussion. We're not taking a vote on anything today. This is just to get the ideas flowing.
When we start this process, this is gonna be hours.
Yes, this is gonna be a year-long process.
Yeah, but I'm talking about, this is gonna be more.
A lot more research
Are we
and-
gonna
yeah, really.
are we gonna break this up into, we're gonna have a planning board meeting, and then 2 weeks later, like we did the other thing, we're gonna have special meetings to go
We
through this?
may have to do
Yeah,
some of
because
that,
there's no
because
way we
there's a
can-
lot of
Yes.
information in here and a lot of discussion that's gonna have to be made.
One comment on the actual fee schedule itself, I had a lot of questions, I won't go through those, but one thing struck me, and that is, I feel like sometimes the fee that we charge a resident and the fee that we charge a non-resident, they're like maybe $1 or $2 difference. And I think there are opportunities to go in there and look at charging more for a non-resident for some things, because
Can you tell me specifically where you're looking at? There's a difference between a non-resident and a resident?
I'm looking at all of the fee schedule. It's the
all
entire
numerous.
fee schedule, and it's just all throughout. So it'll say resident, then non-resident.
But why would a non-resident be higher than a resident?
Well, I feel like residents are already paying taxes for so much of what we're doing and constantly looking for ways to optimize. I'm not saying, I would just say, just look at those and make sure that they're sort of rational in terms of, is it right for someone who's here a week, to pay $1 or $2 more for something that a resident has? But again, that was just a general comment, and it's throughout. You'll see those.
Okay, I have the development services fees in front of me. Are you looking at a different section?
Well, it's
That's
administered.
the gym.
Yeah, that's at the gym.
Okay, so I'm sorry. The only fee schedule, I'm going through the fee schedule. It's got administration for us. Then it's got development services.
Yeah.
Then it's got,
We would be looking at, for this discussion, development services, anything to do with building permits, development
Oh,
permits, not so
so-
much like the
$8 and
recreation type
$10.
stuff.
okay, well, it's all in our packet. So
it
if
is.
we're
It's
not
all in it.
commenting on it,
No. this
that
is
was
just-
confusing because I read the whole thing thinking that all of this was
Me too.
our fee schedule. So it wasn't clear that we're just
Okay,
looking at
just
one
things as
small
they would relate
subset.
to the commercial code repair.
Okay, all right. And we're just gonna get better at that one, right? Because it's a lot of reading to do, if we don't have to read it, we're not even gonna discuss it, just help us focus on what we're gonna talk about. Okay, then forget my comment.
That's why I was a little confused, because in my section it didn't have it.
Join the rest of us.
So as far as going through this process, what is staff's recommendation as far as I see we have 1 through,
Well, yeah, this isn't printed correctly.
no.
I think it's
missed
1 through
it. 1
7,
through
I believe.
7 on different, yes.
I'm sorry, I'm not in control of it.
Wait, this one right here?
This one.
Yes, you got the correct one.
You must have printed it off of the email.
I did, I printed off the
Yes,
email.
I
yeah.
read it off the email, but I didn't print it.
Yeah, it's printed.
So we're just doing number 1.
Yes, that's what she.
Just discussion on group 1 today.
Stuff in the pack.
Mine is just
Okay,
5, 6, 7.
as far as discussion on section 1, we really need to get like staff's input. And we're gonna have to start scheduling some incremental meetings.
Okay.
As we get into this. So looking at the agenda today and what we have, we went through all of this on new business. For the next meeting, could we have like a red line copy of what staff is looking for, your suggestions to give us a starting point for discussion on topic 1?
Yes.
And then all of those notes, just go ahead and put that in the packet so
Okay.
that we can have it beforehand.
Thank you.
So section 1, we'll do in
The
a secondary
next-
meeting. Okay.
The next monthly meeting, and then after we get into this, we're gonna probably have to schedule some supplemental
Right.
meetings to get into the weeds and have discussion on exactly what we need to do after we receive staff's comment and suggestions.
Okay.
Clarify, you would like me to go ahead and just write it as if it is a text amendment and bring it forth that way?
Yeah, just what staff thinks is necessary, give us some guidance, and then let us look at it beforehand so that we can actually see what your suggestions are and how they're different from what we currently have.
Okay.
That way, it'll give us some time to digest it to where we're not getting it Monday of the meeting week and,
Yeah.
Well, I mean, just like the fees, you was talking about consolidating some of them. You know which ones are used, which ones aren't.
Right.
Like,
Okay.
give us an idea of like, hey, these can be grouped together. Hey, think about these, they can be grouped together. This might be where we want to add some additional, like you was talking about the big plan and,
Yeah, I could make a, make like a example one.
yeah, that would be perfect.
So in this section that we're discussing or going to later discuss, on page 68, Article 9, non-conforming situations, that looks to be number 1, revamp regulations for non-conforming. Is that what we're going to tackle today, or is that what we're going to plan a future meeting?
That, she's gonna do a red line text
That's what you're
amendment
talking about, okay.
on what she just went over.
Okay,
On this presentation.
The idea for today was just to discuss if there were certain ideas or thoughts that y'all had already, we could work that into the next one. But if you would prefer that I write it as a text amendment,
I would
then I can
rather,
do it
that will
way.
help us be on focus, on target, to where we're not going all over the board and taking time up that's gonna be useless in the long run. I'd rather get some direction, let us look at it before the meeting, come in with our suggestions, what we think about it, and how that works.
and just so we're talking about the revisions to page 68 of our packet through 74.
Your packet
Your
is
page
correct.
numbers is different than ours.
It's 60.
Our 68 goes into
Okay,
Bryce's
but it's
presentation.
Article 9, non-conforming
Yes.
situations. That whole 7 or 8
And the fee
pages.
schedule.
And the fee schedule. Okay, got it. Even though fee schedule is number 3,
Looking at it in as far as the group, so I'll go back. So
Okay,
that
okay.
diagram that we
Back to
okay,
made.
it's one group. Okay,
Group 1 to begin with. Procedures, group 1.
There you go. Group 1.
There it is.
Or topics.
4 things are the 4 things that are listed right here. on-
Correct.
Yeah, page 31. Okay, I'm with you.
Thank you. Down to
Bryce, you're next.
Ross's presentation.
And that's page 68 of our packet.
We'll see what happens is when they come out so late. I have no choice.
Bryce, before you start,
Can I make,
I read it on the email.
guys, can I make a quick motion for like a 5-minute break?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I had to
back.
Yes, sir.
Bryce, would you like to present your amendment?
Yes, sir, I would. This is Chapter 32 revisions we're looking at today. We've worked really hard on this. We had a group in conglomeration with Tree Peace. We've had certified arborists, we've local nurseries, contractors, and citizens amongst everyone else to come up with this new revised Chapter 32. The revisions to Chapter 32 overall are just clean revision, cleaning up the old stuff, simplifying more or less the meat of it is simplifying what the document itself and then making guidance easier for people to follow. And then adding more trees as an understory tree versus a large tree. Adding more large trees, these are all native trees, and then cleaning up a little bit on the development side. So we'll go through this and see what you think. All right, why these changes? Again, ordinance education conducted with hundreds and residents, contractors, feedback from the EAC, arborists, nurseries, contractors, Tree Peace, citizens. And the objective is to make the ordinance practical while preserving tree canopy and water quality. Summary of major changes, clear structure and organization, new enforcement provisions, updated local plant list, adjustments for small-scale commercial and commercial projects, and flexible planning requirements. All right, so as we get into the meat of this thing, Section 3240.3, we add a new clause that individuals and contractors are responsible for damage to town trees. So in development, we're having problems with people, contractors coming in and they swing the Traco bucket and whatever, and then scar one of our trees, whatever, and people, putting nails, screws, all kind of stuff in some of these live oaks and leaving them for signage, yard sales, whatever. So this is where we can add in here and then issue a fine if necessary to preserve our tree if they're damaged in the town. This is within the town limits and the right of way. Section 3276, we made it easier to understand. We broke this thing in 4 parts. People were we have educated, Deidre and I have educated hundreds and hundreds of people. I mean, it's what, 6, 8 a week? Come in, want to know how to fill out a tree application. So we made this easier. We broke it into 4 parts instead of running up back and forth all over the ordinance, so they could easily understand what they're doing and when we know how to do what they're doing. I also wrote a SOP attached to the application, which gives guidance line by line on how to fill out the tree vegetation worksheet. So that should also alleviate some of this. All right, so we broke it in new residential, existing residential, with additions. You're adding a pool, spa, whatever. We'll get into that in a minute. Beachfront, second row, construction, and commercial development. All right, for new residential construction, 220 square feet per 1 dBH is one per 220 square feet calculates out. For the lot, we did not change any of that. We've had no big issues with that, complaints, problems, so it's a good number. I think everybody's happy with it. We did expand the list of large canopy trees, and we created an understory tree list. Instead of our old sheet had tree list, and we'll get into that later, it has, small and medium trees and shrubs. It had no correlation with what we're doing here. So we did a large tree and understory tree. So it makes sense. Okay. And then we included the maximum 1/3 of required plantings can be understory. So they don't get by with planting all smaller trees. We have to plant still at a large scale. And if they do a buy down on this, then the understory trees are out. They are not allowed. They're all large trees. So we catch them either way.
So the teddy bear magnolia that he mentioned, that the applicant mentioned.
Little Jim.
The what?
Little
Jim, thank you. That's in the list now.
It
He
is.
could plant
Yes,
that,
it
but
is.
that's a small.
That has been added to
Is
the
that a
list.
canopy
It is a,
or a understory, excuse me?
it is an understory tree, correct. For existing residents, this is where it gets we did some help, you know, and this is what he's looking for. You know, they've met a tree ordinance before, if on newer developments. And the old stuff, they've got azaleas on, you know, you got 8-foot setback on the side of your house, you got azaleas that are blown out, you got a lot of coverage around the lot, you know, existing. Well, you can't get all those trees in there, you know, and we said, well, if you've got some in area and you're working on it, let's cut that from 220 square feet to 400. So by doing that, that cuts the DBH from a general average lot from 6,600 square feet, being 30 DBH for new, that'd be like 16.5. So again, then they go back to the rule of one, where they can do a buy down, or they can use 1/3 of understory for that application, so.
One question, Bryce.
Yeah,
So new residential construction, the DBH is still figured on 220 square feet?
Yes, sir, it stays the same.
Why would you want two different ones?
and then, so I just want to add
Yeah,
too,
go
so he
ahead.
can comment. So if new construction has to make it work, why shouldn't our existing homes and residents have to work? It's the same formula, except for a different figure, but new construction has to figure out where to put all these trees. What doesn't existing?
Well, the formulas, in my mind, is different, and what I've had in agreements amongst everyone else is that the fact, if you've got an existing swimming pool and you want to add a garage, or you've got your landscaping done from 25 years ago, you're going to have to tear stuff out to put stuff in. And that's the way we look at it. Well, why are you going to remove all these nice shrubs and plants that you have around your yard? You've landscaped it perpetually, and then you're going to tear them out and just plant trees. It's a kind of give a little to get a little, but I think it's practical, because if you try like Mr. Lawing, you can't put 18 trees on his lot. You can't do it. But you can put half, would fit perfectly, and that gives them growth where they're not crowding each other, they're not gonna hurt, you know, there's room for those trees to actually grow.
So rather than make the rule just a blanket rule, because you could be an existing home with no landscaping.
Correct.
In that case, why wouldn't
Which
you?
needs canopy.
Right, but so in that case, why wouldn't you just do a landscaping plan with the owner, and then you make the call as to, because if they don't have any landscaping, then they can go to the requirements that new construction can go to potentially, versus just assume that they've got landscaping and therefore we cut the requirement in half.
Honestly, in the future, I would love to make that recommendation, but staff-wise, we can't handle it.
Yeah,
Okay,
I can see that.
We cannot handle it. We can't handle the review alone. It is overwhelming. I'm just letting you know.
Yeah, my point is, if new construction has to follow a guideline and put X amount of trees and X amount of square footage, then that means the existing should have to follow that same guideline. Or are you saying that, or possibly, does new construction need the same guidelines as existing? Because if people are saying that existing can't handle the trees, well, how is new construction supposed to handle it? It doesn't work.
Yeah,
I mean, the lot is the size of the lot.
Yeah,
The
it don't
house is the
change.
size. You still only have X amount of room.
Because I was thinking if I build a house and I want to put a pool, when I build the house, I've got to meet certain requirements. If I build a house, then I come back 2 years later and put a pool.
I
can
get
take
half?
out more- I
Requirements are
can
half.
take out more trees.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just wondering, should it be consistent? I don't know if the answer is, I mean, to me,
Yeah.
is the answer 220 or 400?
And I'm gonna go back to my question. What is it that you can't handle and look, is it you can't, so if someone's gonna put in a pool or a garage or whatever, you've gotta go out there, you've gotta permit that, you've gotta make sure all that, then you've gotta, does somebody from
We do
town-
a site visit to do a preliminary site visit to look at the trees that are flagged, the ones they're keeping, the ones that are removing on the lot. Then we'll go back and we do once they clear it, we'll make sure there's no damage to the trees when we do our site and compliance inspection. Then the third inspection will be when we go back for the final and make sure they planted the new plantings and verify that they're all there. And it's a lot. Just to get it on a drawing without requiring, if we required a survey, a tree survey, would help a lot, because people measure in inches and they don't know what DBH is. They have no clue. So I got a 96-inch DBH tree. I'm covered one tree. No, that's only 96 inches. That's not DBH. So
You
I
can
mean-
do it for new construction, but it's a lot to do for all the existing construction that exists that might want to add a change.
Correct.
It's
And
just,
and the problem with not allowing what we're doing here is you're gonna have 20 of these a month because people are getting fed up with it.
yeah, but it's the same hardship though, for new construction and for existing.
that's
Except for
what I'm saying.
existing doesn't, supposedly these builders were clear cutting lots for years. So there's years of new homes down here that don't have canopy, and that was the purpose of the vegetation plan, to put that canopy there. There was a lot of comments on that, on certain people not having trees at all in their yard, but they're writing rules for everybody else to have trees.
And right now, if you have an existing property, right now, as the rule is today, if you have an existing home, what do you,
You require 30 DBH, and the only recommendation that I can make for them is if they're adding a pool, they can go plant a whole row of cypress or cedars down the back lot, and they're less, they can't get them any closer, because they don't want all the leaves in their pool. That makes sense. So they just have to line the lot, but there goes their landscaping. Now they're looking at a row of cedars that they don't want, and then after a year, they tell me they're gonna dig them up.
But they have to maintain them for a year and keep them
They
alive
have
for
to
a
maintain
year.
them for a year, but then they're gonna pull them up, so we're defeating our purpose here. But if you give them credit to give them something that's really gonna grow, that they can put into their landscaping, they're gonna keep it. They're gonna eliminate it. I'm just letting you know, I see it all the time, so.
Yeah, if you're gonna give this to existing, you should give it to new construction also.
I agree.
Cause that's just, that's no different than saying you get the cheeseburger for $1, I get it for $2, or vice versa.
But I mean, some people are not able to like put stuff in and try to meet the new ordinance. They're like, well, we can't even build a pool now, cause and then we're losing that development.
I think it's unfortunate that we can't do it by individual.
Right.
I mean, take a look, you've got
it
an
would
overall
be-
for everybody,
If
but
we
then
had-
you've
if
got
we had
some
staff-
situations.
that-
here's the
Yeah.
requirement
Have
that
the
you can
staff
get.
to cover that.
Right, and
Yeah.
maybe that's
The
what
bill
needs to
may
be
not
looked
be
at.
big enough to hold enough
Put
staff.
something back on the staff, maybe the staff should, maybe the resident should be required to do, have the trees or something like that, or to provide you with the landscaping plan.
Yeah, that's-
But I do
that's
feel like
roughly-
everyone should have the same requirement, give exemptions or give some type of wiggle room for those who have existing structure where what they're trying to add would not be able to conform with. So you might go from 220 to 280, or 300, but not all the way to 400, but it's a case by case based on their situation.
And I mean, that's why we did this, just across the board, because contractors are, when you try to change something, and it is a long process. I mean, I'm explaining this to you. It's a long process to get them to understand. We have a contractor's lunch and learn. I go through it every year for all the new requirements, all specifications, anything I do for stormwater or whatever, but this is a big one, and trying to do canopy and measure canopy, that just doesn't work. I mean, we've got to stay practical where we are here. But I just think if y'all want to change the amount of DBH to lessen it from 400, I'm for that, but I just practically looking at it and trying to fit in the area with what houses we've actually reviewed, it works. That number works. So that's my opinion, and that's the opinion of EAC, Tree Peace, and everybody's in agreement.
So if that number works for an existing,
Yes.
then wouldn't the 220 square feet be overly restrictive for someone who, for example, doesn't have a pool or maybe didn't contemplate a pool when they built a new home? They had to do the 220. So then you come back and they want to put in a pool. Right now, does the current regulation allow them to take out trees
If they're
to put in a pool?
Not if they're under the 1 year. If they're under the 1 year agreement, no. If they are after the 1 year, yes, they can to meet the requirements. As long as they have 30 DBH, they can take out one of the trees they planted a year and a half ago, and then plant a cedar tree along the fence. So yes, they still have to meet the 30, any way you look at it.
But it does not make sense to me why people would agree that if I have a house and I've been here for 5 years, I can take trees out and have less trees on my lot.
No.
But if I build a new house, I have to have more trees.
No,
It's not you can take trees out.
No.
You'd be allowed to take trees out to
Yeah.
put in it for a bigger tax base.
Yeah.
Is what it boils down to.
yeah,
But if I build a new house right now, I gotta have how many DBH?
on a standard lot, that's 30.
Okay.
So that's 15 trees, 14,
So if
14, 15.
if I have 15 trees on my lot when I build my house, and then I decide to put a pool out there, how many what DBH would I need then?
After a year, by this calculation will be
new calculation.
16.5.
Okay.
And there's a breakdown of that. I think it's the
So that's
next-
what I'm saying. I can,
I'll show
why
you.
wouldn't it be good enough for new constructions if it's allowed for the other?
Exactly.
I mean, to me,
To be reasonably honest, I don't think council will approve it. Just.
well, I mean,
just
I'm not
knowledge.
here, I mean, I don't send stuff just to council to approve, okay? I mean, I'm trying to help the people that live here.
Me
And
too.
if council don't want to approve it, that's on council.
Yes, sir.
I mean, I'm not arguing with you, but I mean, I don't run for I don't run for election,
Yes, sir.
you know? But to me, adjusting the DBH calculation, that needs to be added to 32.76.1 along with 32.76.2 is my
Match them
opinion.
together. I mean, I can
Well, I
present it.
guess all we'd have to do is actually just lower the DBH raise the DBH for all of it from 220 to 400.
Or we meet in the middle.
Yeah. I mean, to me, I mean, that's my opinion.
Well, this is one of our biggest,
It's one of our biggest affiliates right here. Phil,
Yeah.
come up a
Well,
second.
no.
We've already had
Yeah.
public comment.
okay.
We've
And I
had
think
that.
we all are already very clued into,
Yeah.
to his position. Look, I do think that there's a serious issue. First of all, the majority of the lots on this island are existing homes, not new lots.
Correct.
Yeah, we've already
Okay.
passed that. Yeah,
That's right.
That.
Yeah, we're trying to repair that canopy.
Correct, correct. So I do think that there is something, and I don't know that this is the answer, but let's say you just made it 300 across the board. What would that do to our tree canopy on the island as a whole? Not looking at new construction, but wouldn't that encourage, and then therefore, because right now you're saying an existing home, are they at 220? Right now, the
Yes,
regulation,
yes.
an existing home is at 220,
That is
but it
correct.
actually limits their ability to potentially do the development that, put in a pool or put in an accessory dwelling unit or something like that.
I mean, they're meeting it now, and then they wait a year and then they add something different, so they remove the tree, which is not in their requirement. But
Why a
they-
year? What's the year? I mean, why was that
The
chosen?
trees are to be maintained once a year. Our ordinance states that any tree to be, the new planting tree, we will do a final inspection. From the date of that final inspection, we schedule out a 1-year inspection. We verify that trees are living, thriving. If they're not, the homeowner is responsible to replace those trees.
After 1 year, if a tree dies, what does the homeowner's
The
obligation?
homeowner's responsibility to replace them.
After,
1 year?
After 1 year.
1 year. No, not after 1 year, before 1 year. When we do that 1-year inspection,
Yeah.
if they're dead, then they have to make that, replace the tree, and then they get another year added on for that tree.
And that's stressful on town staff to do also, because that's a lot of,
It's a whole nother inspection. I mean, Deidre does 460 inspections a quarter. That
right.
tells you anything versus a planning, a building department doing them 180 to 200.
Yeah.
If this is such an important issue,
Oh,
and
it's,
it is, right?
it's
For our- I
the
mean,
top issue probably on the
Why
island.
don't we have more people? Why doesn't the town hire, I mean, you clearly need some more support and help.
They only have X
they
amount
only
of
have
tax
so
dollars.
much money to hire people.
The revenue's what the problem. Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
So we
you
try
can
to-
go ahead. I mean, I don't mean to
I
side.
think this is a legitimate thing that we ought to try and figure. If we can't make it equal, then we can't make it equal. What I don't want to do is treat two different property owners differently. I'd like for it to be more, more
Fair.
common. And so if you or other community citizens may have some suggestion as to how, I mean, right now, I guess everybody's happy because it's 220, but you've gotten people happy that 400 is the right number. So now I'm saying, maybe you go back, is there a number that can literally, is 300 a bet, I don't know, and I'm not suggesting it, I'm just saying it's sort of in the middle,
It's-
that's why is that a better number to just push across the board? And then that way we can get still more trees than we would under this new, where it's, you know, DBH per 400. You know, as an island, as a whole island, not looking at an individual property, but the benefit to the island as a whole.
Well, you know, I think the one tree per 400 square feet works, but that has to be for everybody.
Right.
Right. I'm just don't know what that number is.
But if everybody he talked with was good for 400 feet, all the
Existing
contractors.
Or existing.
Because of the
Okay,
existing
but
landscape.
still, if they agreed at it for 400, then you would think 400 would be good for everything.
Well, it'd be better actually for new construction because right now the trees are gonna be, they're currently being planted so close together that the tree isn't gonna get a true shape. They're just gonna grow upward. You know, but how do we get the town to go to one tree to 400 for everything?
Well, I mean, like I said before, I really don't care. If we agree that it should be 400, it goes to the town council at
And they
400,
make
and
the
then they
final
can do what they
decision.
want to do.
Right.
I mean, that's my opinion, because I'm not here to be a yes man for anybody. You know,
Bryce, how much more do you have left?
Not much, just really quick.
Okay, go ahead and finish
Go ahead,
yours.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, Bryce.
Yeah, we are gonna have questions.
That discussion's great. I love it. I love it. Okay, so we're adding additions for, okay, beachfront and second row, they pretty much don't change, the same 50 square feet of plantings per 500. We have just added vegetation must be 70%. We allowed that because it just said, it said square footage. So some of them had 30% trying to claim that area, you know, as vegetated area, 70% of coverage out of 100 for the area. So that's very fair. 80% is the state's requirement for permanent vegetation. Smaller pot size, because some of these are dune planting, grasses and stuff, you can't get them in 5-gallon as the old ordinance states, so I broke it to 1, 3, and 5-gallon.
But they don't plant even in the gallon, they're plugs that they put on the dunes.
Correct, but some of them have the one, they actually do sell them in the 1-gallon, believe it or not, the plugs.
There's no service that will come out to your house and put in 1 gallon, if you want to do your own planting. But if you're going to have them put in and then maintain, because there are a couple of companies that will plant them and then come out and fertilize to make sure that they take hold.
Correct.
They're all plugs. So I think you should incorporate,
What kind of plant are you speaking of?
I'm talking about,
Sea oats?
Dune plantings.
I'm talking
sea
about
oats.
dune plantings. It's,
Yeah,
I think,
sea oats.
it's the sea oat, it's the the American beach grass, and then the, panicum something is also a excuse me, which isn't even on your list. But anyway, you might want to just revise that because they are plugs. I think even if you buy them, when the town bought them at a period of at a time, you could buy them and you're buying them in plugs and then you put the plugs out yourself.
Okay, I'll incorporate that, and then the way we set it up per our standard drawing that we have online for tree plantings under the stormwater webpage, it shows if they're 1 gallon, they're 1 foot apart. If they're 3 gallon, they're 3 feet apart. If they're 5 gallon, they're 5 feet apart. So that gives us a guidance to fall back to our standard drawing, the town standard drawing. But I'll be glad to include that.
I've actually bought them by the 3-gallon size when required to.
Yes,
But,
sir.
typically, they do come in rubber band packs of like 25 or 50 at a time.
Bare root kind of thing.
Yeah.
All right, next. All right, commercial district. The CB zoning district is from here to the end of Oak Island Drive. We'll be doing a large streetscape plan there. So we had to come up with a way to, how are we gonna do trees in the front setback as per ordinance every 25 feet? So with that said, the town is gonna be planting trees in the right of way. We're gonna have infiltration systems, you know, draining the stormwater, and then it'll be concrete from the edge of the road to the new business because they wanna move up front. So there's no place to plant trees. So by making this modification, a tree costs $1,000 to plant, purchase, plant, and water for 2 years. If you break that down by linear footage, it comes to $80 a foot. So if you have a new business, if I buy an ice cream shop and I'm gonna put ice cream shop there and I got 60 feet of road frontage, I pay $80 a foot. If it changes in a year and it turned into a pizza shop, they pay $80 a foot every time it changes. And that money goes straight to a tree fund for the town where we can maintain and water our trees. So it makes sense, just for this one district here.
And what size tree is that again?
What type?
What DBH? I take it's a live oak, but what's the
Oh,
DBH?
2-inch minimum. Yes, sir, 2 dBH. So I changed that part on the CB zoning section. The UDO tree list on section 1012, it's a very old list, has a lot of trees on it. There's some of them that are not good here, not all native. I want to remove that out of the UDO and utilize our new tree list that we added here for all development, commercial, residential, and all. That way we have one list. There's like 80 trees on the other list. So this makes life a lot easier.
Your list is actually for things that will live here.
Right. And that will grow and thrive, salt tolerant, wind tolerant, hardy trees, so.
And I know you're looking at native plant. You did include sable minor, though, in the back, as an understory.
Yes, sir.
Is a sable minor, I thought the sable minor was more like the bush size. Now, when I say bush, it's a 5-foot, large, wide bush, but the sable major is the tree itself, correct?
Correct.
And so we want the sable minor as an understory, but we don't, because the palm tree itself would still count as an understory tree as well. I mean, they're not going to grow nearly the height.
No, palm tree's not in the list.
I know. You have the sable minor.
Yes.
Which is a palm.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm asking why you didn't consider palms more broadly. I think even when we had the tree canopy study, the gentleman who came and did the presentation, for stormwater purposes, he encouraged us to please consider non-native trees like, there are palms that work extremely well, Pindo, Euro, Sable. They may not be native, but they soak up water amazingly fast. And along Beach Drive, now this is first and second row, Beach, and you need something that's going to actually soak those up. But I wish you could incorporate, maybe give some type of minimal credit for someone who does want to add palms, so that it's not just an add that they get no credit for. It doesn't contribute to tree canopy, but it does goes a hell of a long way towards stormwater absorption. So just a thought for you. You go to South Carolina and the two work beautifully together. The more deciduous trees with the palms, it's a very beautiful look. So just something to think about.
Okay, and that was a decision made by the Environmental Advisory Committee with 2 horticulturists on the committee. That
Understand.
They assisted me with this list. So that gives you any guidance there. All right, fine, this is really quick. So we're finding out tree companies are cutting trees on the weekends while we're not working. So our staff's not out looking, and they are cutting them without a permit. So with that said, I'd like to change that to where the tree company themselves received a fine for $500 along with the property owner having the trees cut. That will deter them from cutting trees without a permit. I've found.
Or you can take that up to 1,000. You can go
That's what I was
2,000.
thinking. That one seems
well,
like
500
a
is
big-
not enough for someone who's going to blatantly go and work
And they're
outside.
doing, there was 3 and 2 weeks ago, there was 3
That's the
people in
easiest
1 week.
money we'll raise as a community is.
Correct, and it'll go right to our tree fund.
So I think you should consider upping the 500 significantly for that type of thing.
I do too.
That's ridiculous.
Yep.
Now, this is for a
much.
tree company. What happens if a homeowner goes out there?
It's the
and
same
cuts
for
it
the
down?
homeowner.
Keep it, you want to raise it for the homeowner also?
Look, if you're deliberately going out there in the dark of night or, and cutting down the tree and not getting a permit, I'm
No,
sorry.
you need one.
Do
Yeah,
what?
They know they need one.
They know they do.
so-
They're,
yeah.
if it's not, I don't know.
I wouldn't say all residents on the island know that they need a permit yet. It takes a long time for that to get around to people. I mean, that's, raise the fine, yes.
Tree
but-
company, different story. If you want to have a differentiated penalty, but a tree company, I'd sock it to them. That's ridiculous.
So increase to 1,000, you guys in agreement with that?
You can go
go
2,000,
higher.
you can go 3,000, I don't care, but I'm seriously, you're gonna,
Honestly,
1,000's
it's
fine, but
$1,000 to plant a new tree and water it for 2 years, so that's our rate. And that's, if you want to increase it to
that'll
that,
cover
that'll
it.
replace the
Yep.
tree.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. This is again, and $200, we do not have a fee for if they remove a tree that's non-heritage. We do not have a fee listed in there, in this ordinance. So I said it's a $200 fee for removal of non-heritage trees under 5 dBH. Greater than 5 dBH. So I think this will help because it's $500 if you cut a heritage tree. But cut non-heritage trees, there's no penalty, so. And we charge no fee for the tree permit.
No fee, no fee to cut down a non-heritage tree.
Right. And that's why I wanted to increase that, make that $200, so that'll be a deterrent. Everybody, we good with that? Okay.
I'm good with that.
So if it dies, it's okay if they cut it after a year. If it dies, you don't have to do anything after a year. But if they cut it down after a year, it's a fine.
If it dies and it's an existing tree, then they just submit a permit and we just give them approval to remove it.
An existing
got it.
heritage tree.
Existing any tree. Existing any tree.
So how do you, I think there should be some rules put into place to where like a certified arborist or tree person can come to a house, look at a tree, and take some pictures, take some measurements, and pretty much issue their own permit. Because a lot of residents come down just on the weekends, and they're not here through the week to get permits and stuff like that. I think there should be an easy online way.
We have an online permit. It's all paperless, it's all online, and it's free.
And when they're done with filling it out, is the permit issued right then?
We give them approval within less than 3 to 5 days.
Right, okay, so
They
how do
fill
we,
it out on Monday, they've got a permit by Friday, approval.
I mean, how do we make that even more speedy for like the guy that shows up on Friday night and he's here till Sunday afternoon and he sees a tree that's dead that's leaning on his house?
Staff-wise, we can't do that.
Yeah.
You email the permit back to them?
We do. Yes, sir. We email a copy of the approval. So instead of wasting paper and giving a hard copy permit, we just send them an
Yeah.
approval. Yeah. Or denial. And then we request that they have an arborist, look at it. If we say the tree looks healthy and we don't know why you want to cut it. And then they'll send a letter to us from an arborist. And then if we don't agree with that letter, then we now have an on-call arborist. So our on-call arborist will go out and do an assessment. He comes every 14 days, roughly 15 days now. And he's going to look at these issues that we have problems. One other thing I'd like to say while we're here, any tree on a property line, if you can count it towards a DBH, the whole tree. So, but if somebody wants to cut it down, say Joe over here wants to cut the tree down and Beth and her husband don't, they want to keep it, then they both have to get an arborist letter saying it is approved, and then we'll send our guy out, but we will not allow them to cut if it's on the property line. They can limit up to 1/3.
And that's a tree on a adjoining property
On
line?
adjoining
And
property line.
adjoining right of way?
And the town right away, correct.
Okay, so all property lines.
That's correct. So we cleared that up. That makes sense, and it's written in here also. All right, again, we reclassified medium trees, as y'all see on the last part of chapter 32, all these beautiful understory trees. That's gonna help a lot, give people diversity. Those 12, 13 trees we had at first were that was hard, But now we work with the nurseries. This is what they have available. These plants are readily, the list in the previous request from the citizen, some of those trees can't even purchase them here. So anyway, this list is actually a list combined by the EAC, and everybody's happy with it. All right, benefits, again, support canopy growth, stormwater management aligns with the town's strategic plan with the CB zoning district. It's enforceable and practical. And that's all I got. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bryce.
Now, one
All right,
question,
wait.
Bryce. If I'm in the situation where I want to build something and I don't have enough DBH, and you say no, I have the ability to go to the Board of Adjustment.
You do.
Okay, so people still have rights to, if they don't agree with this, to go,
Right.
so.
That's correct.
And they have to have 3 hardships for that to be approved at the Board of Adjustment?
Or,
Reese was on it.
So I mean, there are
They,
ways.
they don't hand variances out like candy at Halloween now.
I know.
Well, I mean,
Very,
they
very
shouldn't.
hard to get a variance.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be, but there is a way to do it.
If there's a true
Can be
hardship.
justified, yeah.
How many variances have you seen?
Yeah.
How many variances over the years that you were on the board?
6 years as chair, I probably did less than a dozen.
That-
Well, I mean, it should be a hardship, but, you know.
And I would like to say, in the end, you know, it states in the ordinance that I have the right to make the decision of if they have to meet the required DBH or if they don't for any lot. But I'm the type of person that is across the board. I'm not gonna go tell Joe that he can do this, and just because he's got a bigger swimming pool, and then tell, you know, the neighbor, he's gonna be like, why did you just, I can't agree to that. I want a fairness and something even across the board for that.
Yeah, and you know, that goes back to my comment, you know, it's, maybe your house size is really big for the lot. Well, Bryce just made a good point. What if his accessory structure is really big?
Yeah.
Or his swimming pool is really big? You know, that changes everything too.
Yeah.
They create hardship.
Right.
Yeah, well, and ideally.
Okay, can I have a motion to open comment discussion?
Oh, I'll make a motion to open comment.
I'll second.
Okay. We're good.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Are we looking to vote on this today, or, well, I thought you were gonna come back maybe with a suggestion on if we tried to come up with a number across the board that we could give to here's my problem. Everybody voting on this is an existing homeowner. So we're basically voting ourselves to have a lower standard than somebody who bought a piece of property and coming with the 200 and 400.
Non-biased opinion.
The what?
Can we
I just-
request, if we decide like 400 may be the topic, can we add that to go to council?
I can make that modification and send it to council
Okay,
per your request.
okay.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Just on the commercial development, when you said, like, if a business opens up this ice cream shop, right? Are they allowed to take down trees in front? Or,
Along the Collins Drive, we have very few trees that's all in the state right away. Most of them, the other ones are just decorative boxwoods, and
so are they allowed to take them down then?
we're gonna take them down within the right of way, so.
Because I just know in the.
There's not a heritage tree within the limits of the right of way at this point.
Okay, because in the comprehensive land use plan, they were very adamant about keeping the vegetation in that area, so I just,
Yes, ma'am. Well, and if you see the plan itself, there are trees. There's a lot of trees being put in this, and I'm in total agreement with what they're doing.
So the business owner won't have the tree, the town will plant the
Correct.
tree.
It will be the
right away.
town to maintain
So
it, to
they're
water
gonna be
it.
there.
all-
But
correct.
then, if you're a homeowner, you can't plant it right away. But anyway, we won't even discuss that, but that's a completely different topic.
On page 92 for first and second row, new existing residents, I don't know that we need 5 or 6 because both of those guidelines relate to trees, and no trees are required to be planted. So if you go to, it's your page is different, isn't it?
Yes.
It's 13 of 19 in this section, if that relates to you. And I will say, you know, I'm a big believer in shrubs and landscaping and grasses, but I think where we tell people they can't remove a bush, I think we're getting a little heavy-handed with our requirements.
What line, sir, 5?
Sorry?
Line 5, number 5?
Sorry?
Page 13, line number 5 on there?
Yeah, 5 and 6, under I don't think you need either of those. And if you go up to number 4 on that one, and it probably relates to other,
Yes.
applicants cannot completely clear shrubs and grasses in areas designated as preserved natural area. Again,
And I did have one
a
correction.
lot of people will take out aged bushes and put in, because they can start getting sickly and they can have issues, and they'll put in new, because a lot of bushes don't have a long life like a tree does. And so they will go in and do some of that. So just thinking about, you know, try not to be quite so heavy-handed on everything. This was a tree ordinance. Now I feel like we you know, we're policing vegetation across the board. I don't know.
I did have one quick thing on page 9 of 19. Section D, the second row, properties are excluded from requirements. There's a line through all that red section, that's gonna be added back. It was actually, it was a typo.
Oh, on D, you're saying?
On D, it was a typo, so that line will be added back.
Okay. On page, I'll stay within this section, sorry. It was a reference made to bushes can't be but a minimum of 10 feet away.
Plants, the plants, trees.
Is, I thought it, hang on, I'm trying to find my comment, if you know where it is.
I remember that also.
I just thought a minimum of 10 feet.
That was from the structure.
I know, but a lot of people want to plant the bushes closer to the structure to, you know, why are we policing how far away they can put a bush from their home? I just thought that was a little, hang on, I just had it, and I'm sorry I can't find it now, but I can also meet up with you on that after the fact. Well, if we're going to vote on it, I guess we can't.
Yeah, I believe our reference is probably to trees themselves, not the shrubbery.
It's trees.
Is it trees?
Yes, it's trees, not shrubbery.
Trees,
I'm looking.
Okay, all right. Let me see, that might be all of my comment. Just as a nit, you say throughout, you do this per lot town Oak Island dot North Carolina, or comma North Carolina, and I think you mean town of North Carolina. Town of Oak Island.
What page, sir?
That's throughout, just sort of search for that one. You've got
Okay,
town
sure.
Oak Island, comma NC, and I think you're
sir.
just, but you have that probably 6 or 7 different places.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I know that's not a critical in there for you. Let me keep looking for it if you want to go on, and I'll just reference him to the page.
Gene. Comment.
I don't have any comments other than what I made.
A lot of work has gone into this, and I support it. I think that some of the comments here that we've made are very valid.
Yeah.
Also, so I'm not sure. I mean, the voting of it today, or a vote as it is, and with some guidelines going to council. No.
In a minute, I'll, Reese. Any comments? David?
Back to, you know, the trees, you know, leaving that at 220 square feet DBH for section 3276.2. And then beachfront and second row, what stops the vegetation change from going to the canal? It's the same soil? Is it just less salt coming through, or?
Yeah, it's the tide rising coming in.
It's the salt, I think it's also the salt air that gets on the plant and then destroys the plant. That's what it does. It sits on the plant, the sun comes out, heats the plant with the
burns
salt
it.
on it, and it kills the plant.
Yeah, I'm just wondering why doesn't that continue through to the canal?
Third row.
Yeah, third row or parallel streets to the ocean.
Because of the way the diversity of the water's not as salty from the ocean side to the other, so we can grow trees on the ICW side.
No.
No, we're talking
Just to
about-
the canal.
Oh, to the
So
canal.
like West Pelican where, you know, it's third, is it?
Third row back.
Third row back, you know, there's nothing, there's some cedars, but there's not any oaks or anything back there. I was just wondering why it stopped at second row and didn't continue to the canal. Just less salt in the air, I
Yeah,
guess.
and the trees will grow there, yes, sir. And it would be too diversified to try to justify and clarify that on every single application, to be honestly on top of that.
Okay. And then,
I will have a comment on that.
Okay.
We are third row back,
Okay?
and we had to plant like 17 trees. And the salt's killed all of them but 2.
well, that's what I was saying, yeah, there's nothing on the canal.
That demographic is definitely different than on the other side of the Davis Canal.
Okay.
It gets a tremendous amount of salt, even, I mean, you go row 1, 2, well, that third row sits right there, and that wind, I mean, it blows constantly, and it's killed everything that we planted between the houses. because it's a wind tunnel and it's salt heavy.
So you're saying from Ocean Drive to the canal, where the canal begins at 40th down to the end of the island?
Yeah.
On this, on the east side?
Yeah, it's
So how
it's
could
the
we,
same, it's the same area, the same, everything is first and second. And when you try to plant trees,
so how could we add the third row to that? Is that just a recommendation now to take that to town council for approval?
I mean, if you
Well,
guys
is
wanna
it third
change-
row, or would it be or is it the fact that you sit on the Davis Canal and you're getting that from the Davis Canal? Is it,
no, it's the wind from the
it's still ocean wind?
It's ocean wind.
So you want to propose adding third row to
I think it
It
would,
makes sense.
or second and third row? All the way, that would be throughout?
That would cover from the canal to the ocean front, which is the same like I said, there's cedars that grow, but that's about it.
very few though.
Very few, but there is some cedars, and that's about the extent of the trees that are growing.
And what about the other end?
Oh, this is totally different on this side.
From just the canal, from 40th up?
Yeah,
CB zoning district, businesses no longer be required to plant trees in front setback.
Correct.
Okay. So my thoughts are with like a new streetscape looking downtown, you're gonna have a lot of digging and moving of utilities and stuff in the right of ways. So how are we gonna plant trees in those areas that are gonna be long-term?
They're, on the plan, looking so far, they base it on utilities, the location where they're planting one side or the other for major water lines, things like that.
Right.
And then these will have tree wells. From my understanding, I haven't been privy to all of that design, but my understanding is the stormwater that runs off the crown of the road will actually drop in a catch basin and be a stone infiltrated area with a stable planted area designed for the stormwater and the tree roots.
And when would that start?
Whenever the development starts.
As people develop, they'll be required to put that in, or the town will
No,
be?
when the town, I'm sure they're planning on phasing that, I'm not.
And then we'll get sidewalks and,
Correct, because it'll be all concrete from there to the structure in front of the business, so we have to, we'll have to do something impervious or whatever. But I will research that.
but at the same time, we're trying to move parking out of the front
to the back.
to the back. What, I'm just thinking, what's the purpose of moving the parking from the front to the back if you can't plant trees in the front? Or if you're not required to?
I mean, I don't understand. It's just,
That's gonna be a
It's
long,
just
that's gonna be
yeah,
a
it's just a thought,
long-term.
something to think about. If you're not parking in the front anymore, well, now you have protected tree areas, and the town can stay out of that. I know the town would like to have the trees because, ultimately, they're protected forever until a utility burst.
Right.
And then that tree's gone instantly. Enforcement penalties, okay, tree company. Fines on that.
You got more data?
Yeah, nope, that was it.
I'm on page 9 of 19, but you include this phrase throughout. So you have damaged trees shall be evaluated to count, but in some, you don't say it will be evaluated. You'll just say they do not count. So I think it's right that they should be evaluated, okay? I'm pointing to the one on, it's 9 of 9, at the very bottom under H number 1. Here you say damaged trees shall be evaluated to count towards, and I think that's right. In other sections, this says they shall not be counted.
okay.
And I just think they should all be evaluated. Okay? Also, we make reference throughout that if a tree is on the front or side property line, then it can be counted. What about the back? Because
Yeah, it's all property.
It is all?
Correct.
Okay, so, okay, it's implied then that it's, that the back
I'll
is
make that
included? Because you don't, you just say side property line or front, you don't include
I
back.
include
So I
rear.
think, okay,
I'd consider that all property line.
okay, all right, good. The notion of if you use a buy-down, so for example, by the way, on page 12 of 19, H number 1, that's where you say, damaged trees shall not be counted towards DBH. I'm just giving you where you say two
Yeah,
different
we need
things.
to make
So,
that
yeah,
as
right.
assessed.
This notion of if you use a buy-down, then therefore you cannot use understory trees.
Your sheet's different than mine, 12 of 19.
Yeah, 12 of 19, it's under the, for existing residential lots. God, you got so many letters and numbers, it's hard to even give you a reference point, but if you'll just search for that and make them all consistent. But this notion of if you use the buy-down, then therefore you can't use the 1/3 for understory. So if you buy down for one tree,
Correct.
you immediately can't use it. Why are we being that punitive if someone does the buy-down?
Well, because normally when the buy downs that we have received are the maximum amount. We haven't had a portion yet.
So why wouldn't you just scale the 1/3 down to 1/3 of non-buy down? Do you know what I mean? If somebody's buying it down because they just can't fit them all on their lot, you know what I mean? Or they are contemplating a pool, I'd rather them buy it down than put up a tree that a year later they can go in and take out to put in their pool. You know what I mean? I'd rather them go ahead and put a tree that's gonna survive than do something to try and skirt the
That's right,
system.
exactly.
Because they could use the 1/3 tree canopy then, but then a year later, take that tree down and they've still got the 1/3 tree canopy, but now it's more than a third, right? Because they've taken down some of the larger trees. So if they do the buy down, scale the 1/3 down to be 1/3 of the trees that they actually plant.
It is, that's the way, it's a 1/3 of the total. They can buy down, or either they can have the right to buy down.
I don't think
or
that's what,
they're
go
not
back and
allowed
read.
to
I
use
don't think that's
understory.
what it says. I think it says that you cannot. You cannot use understory plants.
But I think to give more options and stuff like that, I think Bryce
what-
needs more staff.
Yeah.
Because it's,
Yeah, the more you just diversify this, the harder we're gonna.
Well, if somebody applies for the buy down, they've got to come to you already, right?
Yes.
So you're already then gonna
Well, they
see,
go to the development services and pay.
yeah, whoever,
and
they're
write it
gonna,
on there,
they're
buy
already
down.
coming to you saying, we're gonna buy it down and this
Yes.
is how many trees we're gonna have and this is what we're buying down. So I just think in that case, it's just telling them, okay, then your understory is gonna be limited to 1/3 of what you're actually putting in place. Cause you can skirt that again by just
Well,
getting your,
we can go into the weeds on this a lot, but yeah, I understand Bryce's point. If they're going to use the smaller trees, they don't get the option to buy them because the smaller trees gives them the option.
And it takes longer for them to grow and
It
give us
takes
more
longer
the
for them
canopy
to
that we're
grow.
searching for.
you're saying if you use a buy down, right now you say, if you use a buy down, even for one tree, then you can't use an understory tree for your third.
Right, but it's never happened.
That's
for
more
one tree.
onerous for somebody. Now they're gonna just be incented to buy down as many as they can versus putting up
They can
trees.
only buy down 30%. They can't do the complete buy down. There's no 100% buy down.
and then, you guys cleaning this up is trying to make it simpler for residents to understand.
Yes.
It is, but that's pretty onerous though. If they buy down one tree, then they can't use any understory and therefore they could be truly limited in everything. I just feel like whatever the buy down is, it reduces, the 1/3 just gets scaled back. That's all. And I don't think that would be difficult to police. It's just an easy math equation that says, okay, now you can't have 6 buy down. You can't have 6 understory trees. You can only have 4. That's what we're basically doing. I'm trying to get away from people trying to meet a requirement and then a year later,
They need help.
they take them out and there's no requirement to put them back. You know what I mean? I don't want that. I want them putting in trees and I want that first year when they have their
I'm in
best chance of
100%
life.
agreement, and
I want that to take hold and then now they're there for the future. I don't want to see them cut.
If they're
But
going to cut them, they're going to get rid of them.
We've had 3 buy downs since this tree order's been in effect.
It's
If that tells
expensive.
you anything.
It's expensive.
So it's working.
Okay, that's,
It's working. I mean, that's,
25 years ago, we had Bradford pear trees from here all the way to Middleton, 3 per block. And when we put the sewer project in, we dug them all up.
Yep.
So tree program is not forever.
That's kind of how I feel about this streetscape. you
Utility
know.
come in and they're all gone.
But if you put them in, on the front of the if the people required to put them in the property, then they're much more protected.
Yeah.
You know,
And I think a lot of that
that's
streetscape went
only
back to
just for this
pedestrian
section.
friendly.
Just for this
Yeah.
section of road. It's not for all commercial. They're gonna be planting
It's
trees
just-
in accordance with the 220 all day long, so.
Go ahead, Barbara.
I just wanted to, I just want to put it out there that I am concerned about changing, if I did my math right, that, changing from 220 to 400. DBH goes from 30 to 16.5. I
Correct.
mean, canopy, we're going to lose,
yeah,
Great, if you
Canopy
go that
coverage.
across
And
the
just won't
board.
change it.
and it just worries me a lot, so.
Yeah, you don't have to change it.
Well, we don't have to change it at all, but after looking at, discussions and constant conversation and everything else to ease a little bit of the tension, the reasoning behind that is going to the 400. We could make it a 330.
So what you're seeing is people that's wanting to develop their lots are being restricted on what they can do because
Correct.
of the current
Correct.
calculations.
And
Which
that's
means
where-
they're onerous to start with.
Right.
Correct.
But if we're gonna do one calculation, it needs to be across the board. I feel it needs to be consistent for everybody, new construction and existing, because you're dealing with the same amount of acreage, no matter what.
And Bryce, while I am very supportive of crepe myrtles, I think they're beautiful trees. I think if you can't police somebody sharing them, then I don't think they should be included. If we don't have the staff to do some of these other things that you're saying you don't have the staff to do.
They're
that
not on
allows
my
somebody to
list.
put it-
They're not on the new
Not on
list.
the list.
Wait, crepe myrtle was not added?
No,
to-
sir.
Oh, I thought it was.
No,
It was
on the-
added to something.
The other one.
That was the first one.
Yeah,
You're not going to use that one.
Oh, on the, okay, sorry.
Which
I
we
got
still
that
have to go
completely
back and-
confused.
You still have to go
Good,
back
okay,
and.
got it.
Yeah.
And you're gonna add American beach grass and some of those things to your list of approved grasses as well on your,
Correct.
Okay,
And the one thing
panicum.
we did about the crepe myrtles, like, we, in the previous development, since I've been here, we allowed those to be planted. If it's within the last 5 years of development for a new residential structure and they want to add a pool, we're gonna count those crepe myrtles. We'll add the DBH together, because we told them that's what you could plant.
yeah, you
You know,
squish
we're
them
not gonna make
together
them tear them out and plant a live oak for 5 years.
okay,
That's it.
thank you.
That's it.
I'm
Thank
glad
you.
you pointed that out. Thank you.
Okay, and that way they get that credit towards the tree date that they had to plant per our requirements, or.
And also, I want to make it clear to the board, you did say that for new construction and existing construction or redevelopment, that the existing trees will count toward the DBH that they have on the lot.
Oh, correct.
they
That's what
say.
we want. We want them to keep the trees there to count. That's
That's
the
the,
primary.
that's the biggest thing, because
That's the whole
it,
gist of this
yes.
whole ordinance, is to save the trees we have now.
Yes.
We don't want to have to worry about replanting. We want to keep what we have.
yes. Good.
Later on, we could get into, next year, maybe in a review, looking at, by, like, larger, if there are heritage trees, even if they're not in the envelope of the house, we'll allow them to be removed, but if they're within 3 to 5 feet and do another buy down, they have to pay for these heritage trees. I mean, it's in other townships like this. They buy them down on their own lot. I mean,
Right.
it happens. So, just one way or another, just some other things we can look into, but I've got to do a lot more research on that.
What is the pleasure of the board? I would like to see it consistent across for new as well as existing. I think that's the fairest way of doing it across the board. DBH, can we meet in the middle at 300?
If we don't have time for your constituent groups to give you what they think is a good number that would apply to both, then I think 300 is, if they think 400 is right, if they've given you that feedback that it's 400, 220 is what is the current legislation. without them having a chance, if we can't give you that time to come back with their comments in, I would say 300 is, because again, there are many more existing homes than new development. And now, not if we start including all the Williamson track and all that stuff. I mean, that part of it gets a little.
Well, for those large-scale developments, just so you know, what I do is I look at, they have green space. So some of the lots on like Waterside, the lot frontage was like 50 feet. So you had a 26-foot driveway, you only have 25 feet. And the trees, we save lot frontage of every 25 feet. We can only get one tree, and so I allowed them to do that. But the difference in the DBH, they planted in a green space to meet the requirements.
Or
So-
they left a green space natural.
Yeah, well, yeah, or left it natural if it was wooded, or they added
Yeah.
trees, and then they've done that. So that way, you know, we look at all that, and that's gonna be on a case-by-case basis, because it's just so diversified. I have to review all that.
So again, I'm going to just make sure I'm clear. We do not want to send this back and let them come back to us with the number that
We're going to
works.
vote.
We're going to vote. Okay.
And then
My opinion is they've already agreed upon 400 feet for pre-existing. It should be 400 feet across the board. They've already agreed on it.
But if you do that, you're losing, I mean, the canopy, it's going to be reduced.
half.
Okay, but new construction, which we're not gonna have that much on the, let's talk island, on the island. We've got the canopy, we got the 32 dBH or whatever. I've got a house, when I built my house, I had to have 32. Now I'm gonna add a pool. They've already agreed to reduce that 32 to 16 and a half or whatever the number come up to. So to me, they've already agreed to reduce the DBH. So why wouldn't you just make new construction the same to what they agreed upon? I mean, that's my thought process.
Now, who's already agreed to reduce it to that?
According to.
The town staff has.
Well, and all his people, the
Or
trees,
existing lots due to the
constituent groups
amount
and everything.
of
They've already
vegetation and
discussed it.
landscape plans they have, right. But again, I would only clarify that rule by not including it for new residential construction. That needs to be separate. We need to require them to stick to that 220 for residential. I mean, for
Honest to gosh, that's
large-scale
my-
development.
That's my biggest problem, is treating those of us sitting in this room who already have houses differently than somebody who buys a piece of property and builds a new house. I feel like
But the
we're almost
developer does
advantaging
this.
ourselves by having this differentiated, and I don't feel like we're representing all of us equally. And that's why I feel like there's a number, and we just need to apply it across the board to everyone. Is that 220? Is that 400? Is that 300? I don't know.
But with a development, what I'm saying is they have green space to have these trees or save
I'm
them.
talking about just a single residence.
Okay, yeah, well, if we're talking about single resident,
Single
fine, you
residence.
know,
Yeah,
we'll
that's-
go with that. But then for residential development as a whole, we need to stay at 220. I strongly recommend that.
So when you're building a development,
Mm-hmm.
and is the development required to meet a tree across the entire development? Or
Correct.
does each individual homeowner that is platted within that
We
development?
subtract the roads, the sidewalk, the ponds, and the wetlands.
Okay,
So anything else beyond that is area that we calculated 220 by that area.
so again, an individual home, platted home, does not have to meet the 220.
No,
It has to meet it
the
across the
development,
board.
correct.
Okay, another sort of advantage we're throwing out there that I think is not uniformly applied. So anyway.
Well, that's a benefit to a neighborhood, because now you actually get trees
You're in there, HOA, you get 'em
everywhere
everywhere,
instead of
correct.
just on one lot. It's
Correct.
actually
Yeah,
evenly spread out typically.
Yeah, because I mean, these lots are way smaller, 50, I mean, literally 50 foot by
Yeah.
80, to 60 feet. I mean, that's half of what we have now, and there's no way they're gonna get 30 dBH at all.
You can't
They-
get the
they
gr-
would, you
You
know,
can't get the green space on a lot, on one of our lots that they can in a neighborhood. The open space in a neighborhood is tremendous.
And I will clarify that note in there if y'all are in agreement with that. I think that needs to happen for that.
All right, let's
Okay.
get to voting.
So can I have a motion?
I'm going to make a motion that we approve this, but I think 300 across the board. should be the appropriate. And I really want to go on record to say, I really would prefer you and your constituent groups to come to us with that number. But if that's not the case, I think 400 is too lax, 220 is too difficult for existing homeowners, and so I'm going to vote, I'm going to make the motion for 300
So you need-
DBH per 300 square
You are
feet.
asking for an amendment to the text amendment for 300 across the board for all properties in the town, residential properties and existing,
Yes,
Excluding commercial.
excluding
including
commercial.
commercial.
All right. Did you get that?
Sorry.
And increasing the fee to $1,000.
And
Definitely
increase,
increasing the fee. You can put in whatever number you want to put in there, but 500 is way too low.
Yes, sir.
I second that motion.
all in favor? All opposed?
I respect that.
I respect
I
that.
do, I respect that. This is probably one of the most important things. I would hope that by the time, between now and the town council meeting, that you can convene your constituent groups and test that 300 number and come back and, you know, at least, if the town council doesn't think 300 is right, at least they would have then some better information that they can use in their evaluation of this, okay?
Oh, wait a minute. And we were adding the third row,
Oh,
Yes.
That's right. there.
Third row, seaside plantings to the third
or,
row. From the 40th,
Okay,
from
I would,
third row, seaside plantings from 40th Street to end of Island, to Kings Lynn.
if you were in agreement,
from
of course.
40th Street.
All right, so
Can we redo the motion, you mean?
Yep.
Hang on, what, I want to understand the 40th Street, where are you starting it from?
The Davis Canal, beginning of Davis is 40th.
Oh, I thought it wasn't the Davis Canal that was the issue, I thought it was the coast that was the issue.
The coast side of Davis Canal.
both
all the way
sides
to the
Davis
end.
Canal.
Okay, so we don't think the coast impacts the third row, not on the Davis
No,
Canal?
there's plenty of trees all over the.
There's,
Okay. So, and you said that's 40th Street?
yes,
That's where you
40th
think that
to
is going to be?
Kings Lynn.
So,
All right, so withdraw that and make the next motion $1,000, 300 feet across the board. And
well, since we already have the motion to approve the other, I'm now going to make I'm going to make a motion that we include the change that would extend to the third row from 40th Street
Southeast.
west
Yeah, southeast.
to Kings Lynn to be considered with the beachfront and second row. Now, again, you have the benefit of some experts outside of here, so I think coming armed with even that information as well, so that the town council can actually vote through with more information, maybe better information, I would encourage you to do. But that's
you very much.
that's now my new motion, just not revising the old motion, just
that's a
as,
brand new, all right.
brand new
Can I
motion.
have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Unanimous.
Now back to the text amendment.
Now, let's go back to the text amendment.
So we have already, we just
Just
made,
made a motion, approved all of this.
Right.
This is going to town council. Can I have a motion for the text amendment? Approve or deny?
I'm gonna make, oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead,
ahead.
sir.
Well, I was gonna say, I'll make a motion to deny the text amendment.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Where are we going back to?
The
This is
text
the
amendment.
text amendment from the gentleman, Mr. Lawing,
Okay,
where where every 7 years, you could add on.
gotcha.
Okay.
Okay,
What was your vote on that?
Well,
I'm with you.
Okay, unanimous.
So, Mr. Lawing, just because I don't know if you caught all of that, so our motion actually is to change the, from the 220 to 300.
I'll get with you after.
Okay, so it,
or 500.
All right, guys. Board member reports.
Thank you very much.
I don't have.
Thank you.
I don't have anything.
Barbara? Joel? Joel? Reese?
More of a comment than a report. I agree with Gene. I'm not up here to make sure we send something to the council they'll like and accept. I plan to send something up there that I think is reasonable and best serving the public and the property owners. That's where I'm coming from here.
David?
I'm good.
Yes, I agree with you. We have to look at the whole community as a whole and what's right and what's reasonable. I think this actually has helped improve it dramatically. So, guys, thank you for your discussion and staff reports.
No staff reports, great.
Can I?
I just want to make sure the material that was presented today, and I would just have this as a general rule. If there's any way you could send those out, if not before the meeting, maybe right after, because oftentimes they're either supplemental information or it's a nice summarization of that helps us just sort of get all the, it's a lot to take in these meetings. So if that's something that you guys wouldn't mind starting, I would really appreciate it.
Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved.
All in favor? Thank you, guys.